A few weeks ago, Microsoft made a very big announcement around changes to the Microsoft Intune Suite. Right. So, for those of you unaware, the Microsoft Intune Suite is a suite of extra tools that you can pay for. And there's a lot of noise from the industry that customers weren't happy to pay the extra money for because they feel it should have been included in the existing licensing. Microsoft actually listened. And I'm happy to report that they announced that all the Intune Suite features will be placed into the existing E3 and E5 licenses. So if you have an E3 or E5 licenses, you'll get those Intune Suite tools absolutely free of charge. Amazing news. So in today's video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over those features with you, and then I'm basically going to explain how they would work from a sort of Azure Virtual Desktop or Windows 365 point of view as well. And then we're going to do some hands-on demos as well. So we'll actually see what these features are, what they look like, and how to use them. So let's get cracking. My name is Neil McLoughlin. I've been doing EUC for around 25 years now. I'm a Microsoft MVP, and on this channel, I like to talk about the latest news around Azure Virtual Desktop, Windows 365, Intune, Nerdio, end user computing, and much, much more. Okay, so backstory to this is Microsoft had the Intune Suite, and there was a lot of noise from the industry about people who felt that they were paying a lot of money for E3 or E5 licenses, and they didn't want to pay extra because you paid your flat fee and you don't understand why you'd have to pay extra for these features. So Microsoft, they listened, and then they decided that, okay, we should include these features in the existing E3 or E5 licenses. And so that's exactly what's happened, right? So what we'll do, we'll go through each feature one by one. I'm just going to go through the ones which I feel are important, especially for Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365 users. So let's just have a quick look first and see what kind of things are coming in. This is a quick graphic that I produced, which basically shows you which features are coming to which. So I'll quickly go over these. Then what we'll do is we'll go and look into each one of those features in a bit more depth. So the first one, obviously, split the line into two. You've got E3 and E5 licenses. Let's discuss first of all what's coming into the E3. So E3, first of all, is going to get something called Intune Remote Help. So that's a remote control solution for all your users. This used to be included with SCCM, and I think a lot of people are a bit upset the fact that now it's moved into Intune. You now have to pay extra for it, because if you have E3, you'll get that. So we'll go over that and we'll show you a quick demo of what that looks like. The next one is Intune Advanced Analytics. So this is basically proactive device health that you've got around your devices, so you can do queries and stuff and look at performance information, that kind of stuff. Yeah, we'll go and do a demo of that as well. And the last one is Intune Plan Tune capabilities. So this is like MAM tunnels, specialty device management. It's not going to go into a lot of detail about this one in particular. What you can generally get the gist from here is from the E3 stuff. It's basically stuff which makes your day-to-day management of the solution easier, about analytics and reporting and help, that kind of stuff. So now let's move into the E5 features which have been included. These are much more security focused, right? Think about your kind of large enterprise environment, and that's where the E5 Suite fits, right? If you look at the features that you get with E5 compared to E3, E5 is very security focused for those people who want that extra bit of control, that extra bit of security, and are happy to pay and that little bit extra money for as well. First one is Endpoint Privilege Management. This one's probably my favorite one out of all the features that I think in an enterprise environment would be very useful. What this does, this allows the user to request a temporary elevation to admin rights for specific applications, right? Think about your developer scenarios where you have to give the developers local admin because they want to install their own software. What we can now do is we can basically say, hey, I want to give it endpoint privilege management. So most of the day the user doesn't have admin access, but if they want to request to install a very specific piece of software, and they can do that. The second one is Microsoft Cloud PKI. As we know, certificate infrastructures are very difficult to maintain, so this is basically simplified certificate management. So it enables Intune service essentially to manage your certificates for you, right? So rather than having to stand up a CA service and have to go through the secret request feature and manage certificates, it does it all for you. So again, very nice feature. And the last one, which I'm going to go a demo for as well, is the Enterprise Application Management. So this is essentially a pre-selected list of applications where Microsoft managed applications for you. right? And so they'll manage all the packaging or the updates. And so all you need to do is select it, deploy it essentially. They're the top features, I think, that's definitely worth looking into. So what we'll do now, we'll go through each feature one by one. I've got an AVD single session desktop up and running. So we'll go and see what some of those features look like. All right, let's get going. All right, so the first one that we're going to go over is something called Remote Help. So Remote Help is something which is a remote control functionality. Now, it is very simple. So it certainly doesn't have advanced capabilities. But if you just want to do basic remote control sharing, it's fine. To be fair, most customers I speak to, they use Teams for desktop sharing, and obviously Nerdio customers have Nerdio Console Connect as well. But this is included for single session desktops or Windows 365 users. It's a nice solution. So let's first of all go and have a quick look at how you'd enable that within a console. So to enable this, we go to tenant administration. Okay. And then we go to Remote Help. So you can see here, I've got it already enabled. So in your environment, it'll probably be set to disabled. So we just need to go in and basically enable that. Okay. So you can see here, there's some settings we can configure, like Remote Help to unenrolled devices, not allowed. Disable chat, no. And then you configure, like you can see existing Remote Help settings as well. So these are the stuff that you can configure. Right. So how do we use it? So you need to install a client on the source and the destination. Okay, so once we've done that, basically what we need to do is check if it's enabled. Another quick easy way to do that is if I go to my device here where it's enabled for, I just click here and then you can see a new remote assistant session that you got from there as well. I found a much more reliable method which I'll show you now. So once it's enabled, okay, on your devices and you've installed the client, what you then need to do is basically launch the client. So you can see here, this is me logged in. This is the Remote Help client that I've got. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to log on to my Windows 365 device or single session AVD, which I've got here. So you can see that this is my session here. Okay, so I'm going to say get security code. So this is going to generate me a security code. And then I'm going to go into my session here. Then I'm going to type in, okay, and then submit that. Now I should get a prompt basically saying, hey, okay, waiting for the person to set up the session. You can see that's connecting. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to say I want to take full control, or you can just do read only. All right. Or you can take full control if you want to. For the sake of the demo, let's take full control. So I'm going to take full control of that desktop. And then that's going to ask me if I want to allow that session. So as the user, I'd go in here. See, that's my session here. Click in there and go allow. Okay. And there you have it. So this is the remote session that we've got. And now this is me doing remote control on a machine. We've got stuff up here like we can do chat and draw on the screen and send messages with the user, that type of thing as well. Okay. And that's pretty much all it does. It's just meant purely for remote control. It's not like a remote management tool or a remote troubleshooting tool or anything like that. It's pure there just to do basic remote control, which is probably a lot better than having to say to the user, click here, click there, click that, because you can just go in, jump on and start to fix stuff as well. It's a very nice solution. Yeah, that's Remote Help. All right, the next one that we're going to look at is the Intune Advanced Analytics. Intune Advanced Analytics is a way to look a bit more in depth into what's happening with the operating system on the actual VM itself. So let's go and have a quick look at that. So again, we're going to go head over to the Intune portal. So you can see there, you can see it's one of the Intune Suite features because it's coming up saying 89 days left in trial. So I've got a 90-day trial based on this. But what the Advanced Analytics does, it enables us to do queries against the VM. So you can see here, I've got some advanced example queries here. So this is using the custom query language. And so if you don't know that, you can get some predefined ones here as well. So for example, users complaining that the C drive is filling up. So I can just basically go in here, show me the space left on logical drive, and then just run that. And that's basically going to go ahead, run that against the actual VM itself. And it's going to go back and say, hey, okay, this is how much free space you've got there as well. Another one, useful one, maybe give me all the warning event logs for the past week. So I'm going to go in there and just run that. And then that'll pull back all the information from the event logs from that machine as well. And it's actually pretty quick. Another one we can look at is the top consuming processes or memory, for example. Go back into device query. So we've got a predefined one here, basically, which says, where are you? Yeah, give me the top 10 CPU intensive processes. So I can click that. It'll give me the top 10 processes which are filling up the memory and stuff as well. It's pretty useful. Let's say if you want to do proactive remediation, see which applications are causing you most grief, or if a user's reporting the machine's really slow, I can jump in here and have a look and say, okay, which ones are more filling it. Now, again, I'm going to do a comparison between all the Nerdio stuff here. So obviously with Nerdio, we just released something called real-time insights. So that gives you, I'd say, more in-depth than this does, certainly from a troubleshooting point of view, but this is certainly a very good solution if you want to start troubleshooting and say, hey, what's going on with my device. That's the insight stuff. All right, so that's it for the E3 features. The next one we're going to move on to for the E5 features. So as I mentioned, one of my favorite features is the privilege management, endpoint privilege management feature. So this is a great security feature. It stops you from having to give people local admin access, which you should never do if you can avoid it if possible. So let's go and see what this is. If we go to endpoint privilege management, I've already created a policy, but I'll go through and I'll show you how to create a new policy now. So we basically go to create, we select our platform, which is going to be Windows. We select our profile, so you can have elevation rules or settings policy. We're going to create a settings policy. I'm not going to go in depth into this one, may do another video about it, a more detailed one, but we're basically going to create just the basic settings. So click create. Okay, so EPM test 2, I'm going to call it. Okay, and configuration settings. So a few different settings that we can configure. So default elevation response. So you can either deny everything. So if you use a request to elevate, just automatically deny. We can require user confirmation. We can require support approval. So this is the one that most people are going to pick. So require support approval basically means that I'll get a request as an admin when the user requests that they want to elevate. And then you can also send elevation data for reporting, which we want to do. So that's what we're going to select. We're going to select next. Scope tags, we don't need anything there. And then assignments, so these can be either user-based or machine-based, right? So you can add groups of users within there as well. So I can click on all devices if we want to, or you can select specific groups. So I can come in here and maybe just add like my Windows 365 users, for example. So I can go that, select that one. Okay, select next, and then review and create. And that's pretty much all you have to do to create the basic policy. So now, again, let's go and have a look and see what this actually looks like. So again, we're going to jump back onto our machine here. So we're going to go onto my desktop. Okay, so this is my AVD single session desktop. So maybe I want to install some software, right? I don't have local admin access. I'm just logged on with a user. So I've downloaded Visual Studio. So I want to run that. Okay, so obviously if I go into here and try to install that as a normal user, it may prompt me for an admin. Is it going to prompt me for an admin? Maybe not. I don't know. But I'm going to install it as an elevated user anyway. So how we do that is we come up here and then we basically right click there and we can see this run with elevated access, right? So that's a new capability. So I'm going to select that. Okay. And that's going to come up and it's going to prompt me for a business justification. Yeah. So I'm just going to type in there. I need to install VS Code for a project I am working on. Right, so that's basically going to send that. Okay, so I'm going to send that request, working on it. Okay, so you'll be able to run this app as administrator after your request has been approved. Okay, so what we now need to do, we need to go back. I need to go into the endpoint privilege management, and then we go to elevation requests. Right, so this is where we're going to see all the requests here. So you can see there, VS Code user setup. So that's where the request has come into. So I'm going to click that. And then we can just go in there and basically approve that setting. Okay, so you can create a rule with these file details if you want. So if you want a permanent rule, for example, you can add that in there as well. So I'm going to approve that. Okay, so I've now approved that request. So now if I go back to my virtual machine, what I can now do is go back here. Yep, so you can now run request approved. And now what I can now do is I can run with elevated access. And that's going to allow me to run that executable as an admin. Yeah, even though I'm not an admin on a machine, I can now run it using admin privileges. So you'll have administrative access. Okay, so you can imagine, like, from a security perspective, this is very cool, right? Now, I know there's a lot of other solutions on the market, like ThreatLocker, for example, which do a much more in-depth and much better job. But as I said, you're getting this included with your licenses. This is like a really cool security feature. So I'm just click continue. The user installer is not meant to be on as administrator. There you go. Yeah. So it's detected that I'm installing it as administrator, right? So click next and off we go. So that's now going to go ahead and install VS Code with administrator privileges on the local machine. So very cool. The next feature is the Microsoft Cloud PKI solution. So I'm not going to do a demo of that, but that's basically the ability to manage your Cloud PKI solution from within Intune, right? So Microsoft does all the sort of heavy work for you, which if you're a heavy user of PKI infrastructure, then this is very worthwhile. So the next one, which I'll show you, again, this is in E5, is the Enterprise Application Management, right? So let's actually go ahead and have a look and see what that is. I'm just going to minimize this down, and then we'll go back into the Intune console. Right. So what the Enterprise Application Management is, the ability for Microsoft to manage the applications for you. Okay. So what does that mean? What I can do, I can go into applications. So maybe I need to deploy an application in my environment. So historically, you can either do winget, and so you can create those winget applications in your environment or pull them down. Or I can go here, catalog app, right? So essentially, this is a predefined set of applications which Microsoft are packaging for you, right? And so they come pre-packaged, pre-deployed, and they're also updated as well. So you don't need to worry about them being updated. So let's go and have a look and see what's available in there. So if I click select application, so this is going to give me a list of all the applications which are in there. So I don't know how many applications are in there exactly, but by the looks of it, there's a good few hundred applications in there. So for example, let's pick 7-zip, right? That's a popular application. So click next. This basically shows us the app there. So 7-zip 25.01, which is the latest version. Just click next. Obviously, you need to select your own logo from within there, or you just get a default one. And then you can see there, this is like the MSI exec, right? So again, it's not winget, it's a proper like MSI app, which has been packaged up by some packages and is now ready for you to use without you having to go and do that. So you can just go through and select it as you would do as with any kind of normal application. So obviously, every single application is not in there. Microsoft do have a process where you can actually request certain applications. It can save you a good amount of time. Let me just go through. So for example, let's search for some popular ones. Google Chrome's in there, Google Drive. So that's a good one. Notepad++, is that in there? Yep, that's in there as well. So you can see that there's definitely some popular applications that you'd use in there. Again, this is available within the E5. So you've already got E5. You'll get full access to this as well, which could potentially be a huge time saver because you don't have to go and repackage those applications every month as well. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. They're my top picks, the applications that you're gonna get from the Intune Suite, now included with your E3 or E5 solution, and it's definitely a good move from Microsoft. These type of things is maybe something that you wouldn't want to pay for, but you feel like you would like to have. So it's definitely a good move from Microsoft. Now, I do know they are making a slight increase to the cost of E3 or E5. Maybe this is how they're justifying that. I don't know. But yeah, if you're an E5 or E3 customer, then this is definitely good news. Definitely some new capabilities in there that you should be using, especially on that remote help. The security one is definitely the big one for me, and the ability to not have to give people local app access. But yeah, if this is the type of video that you like and see, please click the subscribe button, and I will see you next week. Thank you. Bye bye.